Do you have a Pancake air compressor? I feel your pain. That's not figurative. These things are so loud, they're physically painful. Hola, I'm Mike, and what did I do now? Got sick of my air compressor. That's what. Every time I wanted to use an air tool, I had to deal with a compressor that was loud, constantly running, and just plain obnoxious. My grinder is perfectly fine, but when I needed to use it, I'd first start shopping for one that was battery powered, and then get really discouraged because they're expensive. Over time, I started noticing I was using air tools less and less, not because I didn't like the tools, I just didn't want to deal with the compressor. That's when I realized the compressor wasn't supporting my work anymore. It was getting in the way of it. Reality smacked me in the face yet again. I am Jack's agitated irritation. This is a Porter Cable 2 horsepower, 135 psi, 2.6 SCFM, 6-gallon, 20-year-old Pancake air compressor. To be fair, it still works. It builds pressure. It runs tools. Nothing is actually broken. It was changing my behavior into avoiding tools I should like to use. This thing is so loud, it doesn't have a pressure rating. It has a psychological rating. If you suffer from phonophobia, look away. No, phonophobia isn't a fear of phones. Who said that? Well, you thought it. See, it's pretty loud. Yes, I know I said look away, and as you can see when referring to a sound, that's why I had this fun little text animation. So that compressor is over 100 decibels. That's loud. It's equivalent to a chainsaw, a jackhammer, or a helicopter flying 100 feet overhead. None of those are pleasant sounds. Anything above 85 decibels is literally harmful. 100 decibels is a high-energy sound environment that actually causes physical fatigue. The air pressure waves are strong enough that after a short time, you feel drained. The air is so full of physical energy that it bleeds into your other senses. You don't just hear it, you can feel the vibration humming through the concrete floor, into the soles of your shoes, and rattling the small bones in your chest cavity. It completely hijacks your environment, creating a high-tension zone where your nervous system is pushed into a fight-or-flight stress response because of the constant physical battering. In short, it sucks. Well, technically it blows, but you get it. I mean, it was only a few weeks ago that I asked myself, why are you doing this to yourself? I thought about moving the compressor into the attic and dropping a line through the ceiling, but that wouldn't work. Then you'd hear it in the whole house. Then I thought about building a compressor shed in the backyard, which I still might do, but then I thought, wait a minute, why not just replace this awful thing? But then I thought, no, I want to know what I don't know, and I really didn't know what I needed to know, you know? No? I'll explain. I thought horsepower was the most important spec. It's the most important spec for my Mustang, so why not for a compressor? Horsepower is how strong the electric motor is. Manufacturers love to plaster 2 HP on the box because big numbers sell. 2 horsepower is no big deal. Most compressors are 2 horsepower. This damn thing is 2 horsepower. 1.5 horsepower? That's fine. And a lot of cheap compressors claim high horsepower, but they just end up hogging electricity, throwing your garage breakers, and creating a ton of extra noise without actually giving you better performance. Next is PSI, or pounds per square inch. This is how tightly the air is packed into the tank. This is the ultimate marketing fodder. Brands brag about hitting 150, 175, or even 200 PSI, but almost every air tool you own, including my impact wrench, is designed to run at exactly 90 PSI, which is 6.2 bar for all you non-imperialists. Anything past that max rating simply doesn't give your tools more power. There is more air squeezed inside the tank. This makes your 20-gallon tank act more like a 22-gallon tank, which is nice, but it's a much smaller advantage than having a compressor that can refill the tank faster. More on that in a minute. Oh, it's oil-free! I wouldn't make that a deciding factor. 20 years ago it mattered some. Today, almost everything in this class is oil-free. Now, I want to qualify. I'm talking about compressors for your shop or garage for DIY. I'm not talking about those 440-volt industrial monsters. All that said, what specs do matter? The only spec that actually matters for performance is standard cubic feet per minute, or SCFM. I'll drop the standard and refer to it as CFM for simplicity. This is also referred to as liters per minute if you don't understand my American mumbo jumbo. This tells you how much air the compressor can deliver to your tool while it's running. A nail gun uses a tiny burst of CFM, but continuous tools like a die grinder or an air nozzle are air hogs. If your tool requires 4 CFM and your compressor only outputs 2, you'll trigger that awful motor every 10 seconds and you'll have to wait for it to catch back up. This is why CFM matters more than PSI. A compressor with 3 CFM at 175 PSI may store a little more air, but I'll take 4 CFM at 125 PSI any day. It can replace the air you're using faster. You'll spend less time listening to that awful motor. Think of tank size as your battery capacity. PSI is how full the battery is charged, and CFM is how fast the charger can recharge it. Pump design is important, but the specs are rarely advertised. A twin-cylinder pump can move air more efficiently than a single-cylinder design while requiring less RPMs. A slower-running pump generally produces less heat, less vibration, and less noise than one spinning at a high RPM. Noise level, or the reason for this video. If you owned a compressor 20 years ago, you probably remember one thing. They were loud. Really loud. My Porter cable Pancake Compressor measures 100 dB. When I turn it on, I want to pack up and move to a different state. That doesn't mean you should buy the quietest compressor you can find. Noise is just one factor. But if 2 compressors have similar airflow and capability, the quieter one is probably the one you'll enjoy owning for years. Unlike you! Tank size is important. This is the compressor's battery. A 6-gallon tank holds a decent amount of power, but once you drain it, the motor has to kick on to recharge it. The proper tank size is highly subjective, but for a DIY shop, I recommend aiming right between 10 and 20 gallons, or around 50 liters for you Euro Aussies. If you buy a tiny 3-gallon compressor, the second you use an air nozzle or try to spray paint, the tank drains and that annoying motor has to kick on. A 20-gallon tank is getting pretty heavy to lug around, and the price goes up. Anything over 20 gallons is moving into industrial category. For your garage or shop, I'd rank the features like this. SCFM is always first, then pump design, if known, noise level, and finally tank size. If your compressor spends most of its life in your shop, buy for performance and comfort. If it spends more time in the back of your truck than in your garage, then yeah, you want a small tank, in which case I'd rank the features like this. SCFM, of course, then noise, then the weight, then tank size. A special note about the ultra-quiet models. What makes them so quiet? The secret? They run slower and pump less air. That's it. So keep that in mind. There are exceptions, but it will run quieter and it will run more often. For a portable compressor like my Pancake here, these are the general specs you're looking for. You want to remember those for a baseline because, as you know, Amazon products can make some really wild claims. This one claims to have a brushless motor and delivers 3.9 SCFM at only 70 decibels. That sounds incredible! Wait, it's $109? Well, I don't believe that at all. Here are the general specs for a shop compressor. Anything outside of these ranges should be met with a Colored skepticism. This Bear D plus L claims 8.8 CFM at 115 psi. What? That's not a standard measurement, and it doesn't have a pressure regulator, so it's always at 115 psi. I guess maybe that's why? Pass. Once you know the specs, you'll be able to sniff out all the BS marketing. So, what did I get? After looking around on Bookface Place Market and trying to stay under $200, I was considering a 20-year-old Craftsman compressor. But someone was selling this Vivor, new in the box. I think new will work better. It's a 14-gallon upright compressor and $70 off the Amazon price. It's rated at 4.3 SCFM at 90 psi. My old Pancake Compressor is 2.6 SCFM. This is quite a bit better. And yes, I've done some real-world tests. Remember when I cut the chain for the elevator? What I didn't show is it took 45 minutes. I cut for 20 seconds, then had to wait 2 minutes for the tank to fill back up. I got really good at Angry Birds while I dreamed about making a game called Angry Mike. After getting the new compressor, I had to grind off a rusty ball joint nut on my truck. The script was flipped, ground for 2 minutes, then waited 20 seconds for the tank to catch up. I did not get an ultra quiet compressor, but it's a lot better. How quiet? See for yourself. No, I'm not using linguistic synesthesia, or as you may know the term, catachresis. I'm literally going to show you with my dB meter app. And the old one? That's a difference of 20 decibels. Well, I'm rounded. You might not think that 20 decibels is much, but it's actually huge. Decibels work on a logarithmic scale, not a linear one. The scale looks appropriately enough like a bugle. Every increase of 10 decibels sounds twice as loud to a human brain. 100 decibels feels 4 times louder to your ears than 80 decibels. In other words, it actually fixes my psychological torment. However, there are a few things I learned about modern air compressors. Before you plug your shiny new compressor in, there's a few brutal realities you need to know so you don't ruin it on day one. First, break in. The Vivor instructions explicitly said to run it for 30 minutes with the valve wide open, no pressure. This lets the piston rings seat perfectly. Don't skip it. I skipped it. I filled up the tank, then read the instructions, then did the break-in procedure. We'll see how that goes. Second, throw away the extension cords. These things are absolute amp hogs. When I tried running mine on an extension cord, the motor just hummed and shut itself off. It took me a couple of days of panic to realize the problem. Was it because I didn't break it in properly? No. Modern compressors have a built-in thermal overload switch. The unit realized it was starving for voltage and overheating, so it shut itself down to save the motor from frying. If this happens to you, it's not broken. It's just telling you to ditch the extension cord and plug it straight into the wall. You can use an extension cord, but it needs to be a heavy gauge and it can't be too long, which I don't have. This is all I got. It doesn't even have 3 prongs. If you're new to the channel, I'm joking. I have better extension cords than this. I have this 12 gauge 100-footer, but it's too long to run this compressor. I tried. I also joked about throwing your extension cords away. You can pause the video and pull them out of the trash. So how do I work on my shed? Instead of buying a $75 extension cord, I left the compressor in place and bought a $25 extension air hose. Now I have 100 feet of hose. I can nail anywhere. Need something nailed at your house? It'll reach. What's interesting is that I didn't buy this because I needed more power. I got it to maintain my sanity. And I think that's something worth paying attention to. Sometimes a tool doesn't fail. It just slowly becomes annoying enough that you stop using it. For me, that was this compressor. I wish I'd upgraded sooner. I mean, this thing is so bad, I was banished to the garage for this video. I couldn't run this in the studio. And it scared Socket. You won't see him anywhere near this thing. But I know you're not too scared to like this video. Come on, do it. Be brave. Oh, I got a fan online. Hey, fan, did you like the video?
You spent 15 minutes psychoanalyzing an air compressor.
Thanks, fan. Something in your garage or shop that you've been putting up with for so long you didn't realize how it's annoying you? A compressor? Lighting? Organization? Interesting. When I said organization, you all raised your hands. Something we can all relate to. That's why you should subscribe and never miss a show. And leave a comment. Tell me about your pain. What Did Mike Do Now is every Wednesday, noon Eastern. But don't go anywhere. Turn your rafters into storage. I asked my wife what annoys her. She said the cat box. Wait a minute. Were you thinking she was going to say me? This damn thing is 2 horsepower. 1.5 horsepower? Clock. Come on, do it. Be brave. I pointed the wrong way. No, I did point the right way. Every increase that actually matters is... Take 2.